everyone, and welcome to DUO21, our third episode already. So my name is Bertin, and I'm just here to do a little housekeeping. After you just learned on how to use the AirMeet tool, so there's even less to say from me. So I'm just going to guide you a little bit through the agenda, which is according to our motto, Together from Anywhere, actually today a little bit on the British side. Because after our Facts and Trends with our CEO, Carol Verlet, who's again talking a little bit about sustainability, we have my colleagues Isabel and Tim here, Tim from the UK, talking about how brands can produce more content with less time. So stay tuned for Tim's stuff that he's going to show. Some of you might have seen that already at the WW2M last year. Later on, we'll have some more Brits. Bill Tickle, the tech director at Born Group, and my colleague Colin Price from our UK division. Going to talk a little bit about how the Born Group is using DALIM ES and what the benefits are. Interesting story, and I think this is, for me personally, the essence of Duo. When you look at some of the speakers today, I mean, when I look at Bill, I looked it up earlier in my email and I saw some old registrations forms for Euro Duo in 2005 with Bill's name on it. Also, Colin was on that list as well. And don't worry, guys, I don't have any embarrassing pictures of you. So if I do, I might share them later. Anyway, today is also a little bit different because in our little break that we have at 5:45 between the two speaker sessions, today we're not going to have the little table thing going on. We don't have any games, unfortunately. But we want you to feel a little bit better and relax. So we brought in Philip. He's a meditation expert. So he's going to tell you a little bit about meditation in general and give you some breathing exercises. So you have more energy for the presentation of Born. So, a little bit different today, something that we've never done before. Hope you like it. You're certainly going to like that. Congratulations, Leo Condamin. You won a little gift from our quiz sessions last week. Also, nice story, Leo. Hope I didn't butcher your last name too much. Leo is a student at EMP in Grenoble. So great to have students, our future customers and partners here on those sessions. Again, congrats, Leo. Of course, there's more to win, all the people here in the session who joined us for the first 2 episodes of Duo on Air know it already. We would like to give away an iPhone 12 Pro to you, one of you. And there's very easy. You just have to find out and tell us, where did we host our first Duo organized by DALIM Software? Where was it? We already had great places, we've seen here. We've been in London, we've been in New Orleans, we've been Lake Como and so on. So tell us, where was the first official DALIM Software Duo hosted, in which city? Of course, we're gonna help you a little bit. We already showed you two clues in the previous sessions. Today, later on, you're gonna see one more, and you're also gonna see some more in the next Duo on Air sessions. If you know where the city is, just send the answer to hello@dalim.com and you're most likely gonna win that iPhone Pro. So far, I haven't seen a right answer. Anyway, enough from me. you're going to see me later again. But now I hand over that little toy here to Carol to hear.
Thank you very much, Bertin. I would like to think that we are the only company, at least the software company, that offers meditation and within actually a webinar. I think is quite original as a concept. We discover those kind of subjects at the time we get on stage, so there's no chance for us to say anything about it. Our marketing team can be quite creative, so I think, and I hope you will appreciate that creativity. But we have no plan to stop them. I think it's very good to be surprised every now and then. So without any further ado, I want to leave as much time as possible, not only to meditation, but also to our colleagues that are speaking from England today, and from Kale team has actually crossed the channel to join us here in Germany. I think he deserves a first hoorah for that, and it makes us actually, engage in more travel slowly but surely, and we hope we won't get stopped at one or the other border, in the next future. So, some of you may have seen that kind of graphics behind me. I mean, this is basically, lines of codes. Very recently somebody was asking us, how many lines of codes have you ever actually, assembled within the ES and Twist? Because as you know, ES includes Twist. And we counted. Fortunately, we have computers, so it's not that long. But we counted no less than 10 million lines of code in ES and Twist together. So if you can picture what 10 millions of lines of code represent, then we started to dig a little further and say, okay, what amount of code do we actually reuse? And we dig further and we found that about 30%, which we call the algorithmic code, is being reused. In these sustainable days, you could even call it, the circular economy code, something that doesn't really change because there is no, not 1,000 ways to write the color separation. There is not 1,000 ways to display a screen, a picture on the screen. So there is a lot of those, algorithm that we are keep reusing. And if you are using our application with an API, you are using a lot of it. You're using a little less of that other part of the code, which we call the green code. The green code is basically the one that comes as a wrapper around all this, intellectual property that we have accumulated around the years. And we call it the green code because it's been developed within, a green environment and with a building that is provided with green energy. And that is actually what you are going to see when you actually are first facing ES6 in its current version. Now, that makes actually of ES6 the very first software we are producing with that amount of hydroelectricity. I mean, it's something that we see as a trend-setting operation. It started, as you may remember from the previous session, in 2014, when we started actually thinking about converting a lot of our operation into more efficient operations. And ES6 is actually a living example of it. So without further ado, I will leave it up to Isabelle and Tim actually to introduce you to ES6, which became, as you may remember, a React interface, which is certainly the first of many iterations that makes it actually pretty much faster as anything that is out there. So thank you very much. I wish you a great session and enjoy the rest of the show.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be with you today for this second part of our episode 3 of DUO 2021. I'm today together with Tim Delia, who is our technical lead. I am Isabelle Bilreriel, a business development director for DALIM software in Europe. So we will be talking today about how can brand produce and manage more content. So a few things I would like to share with you, a few figures actually. This is regarding the number of photos that have been published and taken every year. So as we can see, there's more and more photos we are taken years after years. In 2021, we have an increase of almost 10%, and this will continue within the upcoming years. This is interesting because photos are actually the favorite media for brands to communicate with their customers. And customers really appreciate taking good photos quality, and this is a big part of their purchasing journey when they want to get and buy a product. But photos is not only the only media brands like. They also really appreciate video, and there's a rise of production of video per year. And we see that this is also something which is growing, and there's quite an interesting progression between last year and this year. And also another very interesting point for video is that it's not only concerned marketing department, it's also for produced by other people that marketing. It can be internal people, but it can be also customers creating videos. Those ones that are used to illustrate the product. This is for tutorial, and this is a very nice way to communicate through social media about products, about experience. And one last point I wanted to share before diving into the subject. This is the way this content is published by brands. So we see we have content which is published on a weekly basis, and more than 30% of all this content. And this can be one time a week or several times a week. So it's quite a lot of information that you have to produce there.
Yeah, and I think that leads us nicely onto how do we produce all of this content? How do we keep up with the demand for daily, weekly, maybe even a couple of times a week? How do we produce all this content? How do we get all that out there?
So as you are talking about the first thing we would think is about how you can organize this content, how you would manage it. So what is the first thing which come in your mind? So we were really lucky today because you've been working for BBC team, and you've been also deploying and integrating content management solution brands. So what is the first thing that come in mind when we talk about content management?
Okay, yeah. So when we talk about content management, really it's about, first of all, understanding what content we have. A lot of the times content is duplicated. You can end up spending a lot of money on your brand getting something to go through the photo studio more than once. So first of all, we have to have a way to find what content we own, and a DAM is a great way of doing that. We can have search, we can have facets, we can have similarity search inside of our system. We even have machine learning, which will auto tag assets and extract colors, which just really helps us get to the content that we own quickly. And obviously, you've got to try and get this content into your system somehow. So we provide a way for you to upload lots of different types of content, pick a location to put that content into, and even tag it initially so that it has some nice information available, so that when your users come into the system, maybe they've got a notification saying some new content's been uploaded, they can find it, they can see what you've added, and they can start to work on it.
So this is a very interesting subject. You were talking about tagging the asset, and one big issue is, and we hear a lot about metadata. So can you give us a little bit more information about what is the usage of metadata, how great they are, what it's helpful for?
Yeah. So metadata is an incredible tool for the DAM. It allows you to take information and display it to your users in a way that can help them find and understand what the content is. So when we think about metadata, we don't just think about, a little bit of information on where the shot was taken. We may have information like usage rights. We may have information of where we purchased an image, and we may even have information about how much each of us like that asset, so we can work out what content is the most popular.
Okay, so you have built up this library, you have tagged the file, you can search, you can find them, but there's also a quite interesting question. Who do have access to this information? What is the way to make sure that the right people are getting the right access to the files?
And this is really important, because the last thing you need is for your users to be bombarded with information when they're searching for things. So access control comes in at this point. And this is where we start to talk about, okay, we're going to upload the information that is most important to the people in this list into the folder that we're giving access to. The last thing you want when you're accessing a DAM is to see everything, even if it's not relevant to you. So where we think about content control, this is just as important as tagging things with metadata.
So I understand. So actually, now we have all our library of content. It's easy to access. We're sure that the right people do have access to the right information. But the next things you want to think about, this is you may want to get some new content, because this content is not necessarily the one you want to get. So what can you recommend? How is that working with new content?
Of course, yes. So when you're deciding what to make, you first of all had to find the assets you like. And then when you've narrowed down your search, maybe you've put them in a collection, you'd go through this view here maybe and look at them in high resolution, in side by side, and you'd pick the perfect asset for your repurposing. And then when you found the asset you like, you're going to want to do something to it. Now, inside of the browser, we give you the ability to use our crop tool. It can pick a crop, and you can even see that we did some little variations there with the sizes. You have the aspect ratio picker, so we can say, okay, I want a banner for Twitter, or I want a profile picture, or I want the perfect size for my website. And you can define all these yourself and have them for your system. Once you've done that, you just pick the output. You pick the output for your channel. So it may be a different size, it may be a different color profile, it may even be a different image type, and then you just download it. And then you can repeat that process as many times as you want to produce content for different channels.
Yeah, I see how this one can be really useful, because you have the asset, you just want to reuse some small part of the asset, but if you want to create some new asset, like imagine a brochure or a poster where you want to add a logo, what is the best way you would recommend to go?
Okay, so obviously we give you a bit of power in the browser to do something yourself, but if you'd like to actually work and collaborate with a team, like maybe you have an art department or you have a video department, this is where you need to start your collaboration workflow. And this is where we offer our high-res viewer. The high-res viewer has a lot of tools for you to give feedback on assets and pretty much order the job that you want from the system by leaving annotations, extracting information from it, and making sure the instructions are clear on what you want next.
So you mean that you are sharing the information with the rest of your team, and this is smoothing and streamlining the communication between the different people. And what about revision? Because okay, you've done the new asset. What's about it? How can you make sure you have the right one?
So this is just as important. So once the content has been produced for me, I want to check what my art editor has done. I want to make sure the instructions that I've given them has been carried out. So this is where I have my versioning system. I can open multiple versions of the asset. I can look at them side by side. And we even have a really useful tool for analyzing the actual file and bringing to the front what has changed, so that if you do end up doing a minor change, you can still kind of detect that change and see what's happening.
I see how powerful it is in the case I'm looking at my photos and I want to look at the different versions, see if the change has been done. But also brands are doing a lot of campaigns, and a campaign means also a lot of assets, a lot of photos. Is there anything you can also propose to speed up the process and to get them, looking at the styling, making sure the photo shooting is okay?
Yeah, so this is where we've introduced the concepts of like a 16 view dialogue. This is our high-res viewer with all the tools we have in our high-res viewer available in 16 panels. This allows you to basically look at a lot of shots from your campaign, leave comments on them, maybe check the color of them, do anything you really want to do inside of all these panels. And this is really a great way of seeing everything you want to work on without having to flick through them or open lots of documents at the same time.
Is it only working for photos, or it's also working for PDF or this 16 view? You can get, I suppose, different assets?
Yeah, so our viewer now supports websites as well. So this is where a lot of brands are defined by their website. And websites need their own content approval workflow as well. It's just as important as any image that's going on a website. It's just as important as social media. So you need a place that you can collaborate on these things. So this is where we've provided a live website annotation tool. You can leave comments, you can draw on the website, and you can really make sure that the content that's going on your website is correct and feed this back to the web development team.
And I see it's a very unified way of looking at things, because actually you have exactly the same experience with the website as you do have with photo, as you were showing us just before. And what's about video? Because video, we've seen, is also a big subject for brands. And this is also a very nice way to communicate about the product, to share information with their audience, with their customers.
Yeah, of course. So video has become just as important as photography on social media, on websites. You know, websites were once text and images and static content. Now, a lot of brands are dealing with video to get their subject out there. You can explain a lot more in a video. So again, you need a workflow where you can leave feedback on a video, you can annotate it, and you can collaborate with the team that's going to be doing the modifications for you.
Okay, we've been talking about video, we've been talking about website, about photos. Is there anything else you can do? Because actually content is quite various. You have a lot of kind of content, you know, so.
So we can see here on this slide that, you know, there are a lot of different formats that we support. And, you know, we talk about content, we talk about different output channels, but all of these content output channels have their own workflow that they have to go through. So we have 3D production, we have the ability to view PSDs inside of our system, we have the ability to review Excel spreadsheets as well, and that can contain information about the job that you're meant to be producing. So, you know, it's important in this campaign creation to support every format that we can.
So it leads me to another question. We hear, because we see here we have a lot of format, we have a lot of information. We hear more and more about automatic asset creation. What does it mean? What is the first automation you would like such a system to bring to a brand to facilitate their day-to-day tasks?
Yeah, so if we take photography, for example, we have some assets here, and we may have had these produced for us, they may have come from a studio, we may have had some retouching done. Now they're ready, they've finally been through their approval cycle, and the campaign is ready to do something with. So we want to approve those assets, and we can see here that once we approve those assets, it's now creating lots of variations of those assets, and it's putting them into these subfolders of large social media, website. And this means that we don't have to have a user go in and open our crop tool and do a download of all those different sizes and variations. They can just automatically, with a single approval, produce lots of different outputs. And we're just looking at 3 here, but you could imagine that any output channel that you would like can be used. And if we bring it back to video as well, we have the ability to transcode video. So maybe through your video workflow, we could produce lots of different versions of that video ready for web, ready for iPhone, ready for all different devices.
Yeah, I see our important this automation could be for brands, because I know that, for example, 2 or 3 years ago, a brand was communicating about, they were addressing about 8 channels, and today it's more about 13 to 15 channels. So I see how this kind of automation can bring power and can speed up the process. And another one, it's okay, you have everything produced, and what's next? You want to use that. So how do you do it?
Yeah, so once all this content's produced, you obviously want to do something with it, and we provide a way to deliver to lots of different output channels. Like you could deliver to a file system, you could deliver to Dropbox, any kind of S3 buckets and Google and things like that. But also, you may want to just post it straight to social media. So from within the platform, of course, you should be able to pick an asset, open it, show it inside that social media platform, write your post, and get it into that social media channel straight away without having to download it and do it on your own device.
Oh, I see. If we summarize, so we have now the content, we have also speed up our production with how we can produce some more assets, and the next step which come in mind, this is...
Yeah, so we've obviously, summarized how we can manage it, produce it, and I'm going to actually throw a question at you now, which is what type of feedback are you hearing from customers about what we should put into the system to help them, plan all the production and, make sure that content gets produced on time?
Yeah, that one is a big question, and you're fully true, because we've been asked many times to bring to the system tools to help customer to manage the campaign, because a campaign is not only a few pictures, but it can be a set of video, it can be a set of website, and so on. So what we brought to inside here, this is a Gantt planning tool that enable to get a full overview of the production and analyze and see exactly where the production is, where are the bottlenecks, if they will get enough resources. You can also manage the resources, the deadline, and of course what you can also get, this is a specific dashboard where you have your to-do list. So all in one, this is very good, because this is pointing to the different person the information they need to get to manage the project. One last question I'd like to ask you about, because this is also something very important. So you are tracking, but what people want to do, when you have all of this into control, this is how can you improve and optimize the process?
Yep, so this is where statistics come in and visualization of data. We want to take everything that we've done in the previous steps, finding content, producing content, and we want to look at the analytics, the metadata, the time it took in between production and approval, and we want to use that data to then get better at doing it. So you can imagine that you have a campaign coming up and it's the same amount of assets that need to be produced. You could look at the statistics of a previous campaign that happened, and you can kind of start to fine-tune and analyze and see what exactly happened and where we can improve and make sure that content gets out. Because we were talking at the start about producing content daily, and if you want to keep that up, you need to make sure you're analyzing your statistics.
So I understand that you can get through this all your own KPI. Thank you, Tim. I think it looks like we reached the end of the session, so we almost at the end. Bertin, do we have any question?
Yes, of course. So hello again. We have a couple of questions. I think they're mostly directed to Tim. Sorry, Isabel.
Okay.
Although it's nice to see you all dressed up for all these questions. Anyway, Tim, you were talking about the sharing options, sharing something on LinkedIn and so on. Can you share a whole collection?
Share an entire collection. So when you've gathered things inside of a collection, you can select every asset inside the collection and do the same action. Also, we've added the ability on a collection to pick users that you want to also have that collection. So when they log into the system, they get in their list the collection that you've shared with them, and it will have the name of the user that shared it with them next to the collection name. And we could even attach this to a notification as well if you wanted to make them, force them to log into the system and look at the collection. Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was a yes/no answer.
Yes.
Sorry. Another question from Chris. So talking about the dialogue engine, the 3D viewer. Yeah, so he wants to know, what file formats can we view there?
Okay, off the top of my head, I can't provide that, but it's actually, I think, in our
I think I can help
documentation,
on.
so maybe
I
Isabel.
think I can help on that one. This is a Collada file format, but actually, what you can do is to plug the system to tools and to convert the format in Collada, so you can get them and render them inside ES.
Yeah, so we do actually have an engine in the background that converts 3D files. So maybe the format may not preview correctly in our high-res viewer, but if we convert it, we can preview it. Yeah.
Right. That's what we're doing at some customer side. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Another one from Chris Herrick. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Is it possible to use unusual or custom parameters for variables for assets? For example, in 3D, can you select only files that would not require support structures on a certain technology, for example?
Wow.
Sorry, I had to
Okay.
just read this.
Okay, so I mean, if you understand what can be supported by what, then it's possible to create your own metadata sets with as complex structure as you would like, and then someone can either manually tag that. But obviously, because we extract the MIME type, which is the extension, if we're able to analyze what type of file it is through automation, we could automatically tag the metadata for you, and then yeah, why not? You could search for it in our asset system. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. And another one from Chris Field. Can you go a little bit more in detail about the video viewer? What's possible to do in there and what file formats are supported?
Okay, yeah. So the same with video. We render a web-ready preview. So when you upload a video, we don't show you the video as it is because it may be quite big for a browser to load. So we generate a web-ready preview. And then when you're viewing it inside the viewer, you can pause, you can leave an annotation, and then on the timeline, you can decide how long you want the annotation to appear. We've recently just added support for different translation layers as well. So you can actually leave comments on each language that is inside of the video in terms of subtitles. And when you flick through the different subtitles, the comments hide and disappear depending on what language you've selected. So it's pretty powerful.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'm sure, Chris, if you hear me, maybe you just want to stick around a little bit later as well, so to have Tim in the chat on one of the tables to ask more questions, because that's it for now. Those are all the questions, so I think it's time to wrap up. And I guess it's time for a little break. So this time, not so much with the tables, but with the meditation and breathing exercises. So enjoy. See you later.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome to this segment. My name is Philip and my topic today is meditation. Allow me to introduce myself a bit to you first. My professional background is in app design and game design, but for the last 8-10 years I worked in startups, in freelance projects usually, building companies, helping companies to be built. And yes, I'm also somebody who's very passionate about sports. It's one of my major outlets to stay in balance, because if you sit in front of the screen for 8-9 hours, you have to give your body something back. So while doing sports, I came in touch with a few concepts which are a bit more holistic, like yoga or qigong or tai chi. And while doing these things, I first came in touch with meditation, and for very long I didn't really know what to make of meditation. I thought it's a bit of a strange concept, just sit and breathe, and I didn't really understand what it can do for me until 2017, 2018, when I was building a company in the crypto industry, and there's a venture in Iceland, which I still help to run, and we generate and mine cryptocurrencies. And as some of you might know, it's quite the stressful industry, because at one day Bitcoin goes to the moon, and other times Bitcoin goes to hell and investors are unhappy and your own money is going away. So I really had to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of responsibility, and meditation was a way for me to deal with the stress, and it really enriched my life and made it easier to overcome any obstacles, actually. And that's why I want to share this with you today, give you a little intro about what I do, and because I believe everybody can benefit of this in some way in their lives. So the type of meditation I want to talk about is called meditation in silence. The idea is to stop your thoughts of running through your head and stop also your senses from sending information. And if you reach this state, which I call energy saving mode or mental energy saving mode, really basically like a computer, you switch it off, it's still alive, it's still on, but no data is processed. And if you achieve this state of mind, you can detach from all the things which trouble you in your mind, all the fears, all the responsibilities, all the worries, basically. And it's really like a quick vacation. It's a quick fix where you can let go and just recharge. And in the long term, if you do this regularly for maybe 3-4 months, it also shows you how to deal with what life presents you differently. It shows you that you are not determined, that you're not your thoughts, that you're not your senses. We can all feel, we can all think. We are beings who are capable of that, but we are also capable of controlling this, of stopping this. We can actively decide how much mental energy we invest into a topic that comes from us. And if we realize this, life becomes so much more easy because nothing overwhelms us anymore. And yes, in this segment I want to show you a few basic techniques, very, very simple, which you can do now with me or later on in the evening if I inspire you a bit. And yes, first off, I recommend to be in an environment where it's very calm, like no light, no sounds around you. If at best you are alone, nobody else who can disturb you. And yeah, you do it seated. I have my safu with me. It's a meditation pillow, which comes from Buddhism, as far as I know. And make sure to be comfortable, relax, but don't relax too much. We don't want to fall asleep. It's a different approach. So you sit in this way in a dark room. I also plug my ears, and the problem most people have with this type of meditation is that we are all conditioned to continuously think, to multitask, to really use our brain all the time from our early days on, basically. So it's really hard to overcome this conditioning, and you can do it. You can trick your brain a bit by watching your breath. If you bring your breath into your active mind and you control it, but you also focus on it, then everything else will stop to be in your mind. It will stop to affect you. And yeah, I will show you this. It's really, for starters, it's really, really simple. Take a breath in through your nose for 5 seconds. Then you hold your breath for 5 seconds and you breathe out through your mouth for 5 seconds afterwards. So let's do this together if you feel like it. And we hold for 5 seconds. And repeat. Feel free to count. It really helps to focus your mind, to count the seconds, and do this in repeat. If you have the time in the evening, I guarantee you, if you do it for 5-6 minutes and you really focus on this breathing technique, your thoughts will stop for at least a minute, and this already makes a difference in your energy level. It's very subtle, but you will feel it. And to intensify the relaxation process, you can also try, now I overdo my breath a bit, it's very strong, it's very unnatural, but you can try to let it more sink, let it be more natural, more fluid. So you take the 5 seconds in, but you relax more, so it's almost unhearable. Didn't I tell you, I was a bit nervous doing this, and these few seconds of meditation, they already helped me to calm down substantially. And you can do that with anything that troubles you. If you have investors sitting in your back, or you have relationship problems, or whatever you name it, you can switch off, let go, and you will feel rejuvenated afterwards. It's very simple but very powerful, and there's no mysticism around it. It's something we can all do anywhere we are, in hotels, in the office even. Yes, I recommend you to give this a try and see the effects for yourself. And yeah, if you have questions, I will be at the board after this segment, and it will be a pleasure to answer them for you afterwards. It was a pleasure to share this with you. Have a good day.
Hello, and welcome to this section of Duo on Air, coming to you from the UK. My name is Colin Price, and I'm Managing Director of DALIM Software UK, where we work with and alongside our UK distributor, Ethos. For this section of Duo, I'm delighted to be accompanied by one of our long-standing customers, and actually one of the best names I think I've ever heard. He's joining us today from London, and from the Tickle household, otherwise known as Tickle Towers, it's Mr. Bill Tickle himself. Hello, Bill, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
So, Bill, you are Technical Director of Forborn Group, which is an award-winning global digital agency, and also a long-standing user of DALIM products.
That's correct.
I'm sure you're going to tell us more about that in your presentation. And I know that for many years now, to service the needs of your customers, Born has always developed customer-facing systems that serve as the foundation of everything you do.
Absolutely.
Which is in effect your digital economy. And that, I believe, covers everything through creative design, content production, and connecting brand experiences across all channels.
Pretty much. Yes, yes.
So I believe the system you developed is called Ceto Publish VIP. And we're looking forward to learning more about it. And when it was originally conceived, I believe, am I right in thinking that it was built from a mix of different technologies, of which DALIM Twist was just one element?
Yes, absolutely. DALIM Twist and DALIM Dialog were in the mix, but it was a whole raft. It's a whole farm of servers doing various different things.
So what other components were you using in combination with Twist and Dialog?
Oh, God. We got a Java comms engine. We got a Java application engine. We got an FTP server. We got 3 web servers, a database engine.
That's quite a lot to look after.
It's a big instance, yeah. So,
okay. Well, in the previous session with Tim and Isabel, I think we saw some good screenshots of how DALIM has developed our own interface for ES6 DAM. And actually, that was all using our API. And I'm continuing on this theme, and to give a real world example of a customer actually doing it for themselves, it'd be great to discover how you can leverage on the very powerful aspect of ES6 and see what you've developed. So let's pass the screen to you, and perhaps you can explain why you did it, how you did it, and of course, show us what you did. So over to you, Bill.
Okay, so let's just start the movie. Can you see my screen?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so as Colin says, I'm technical director at Born, and I've worked in print and content so long I've now fossilized. So if you don't know who Born are, just a quick explanation. We are a creative content and commerce agency. And we have quite a large reach. We grew out of the pre-media world, but these days we are very much a content and commerce focused organization. And we have our offices in quite a large number of places. That's been amplified last year by our acquisition by Tech Mahindra, who is a huge corporate involved in everything from tractors to farmers. I don't mean farmers, I mean pharmaceuticals. They own major brands such as Pininfarina, and they now own ourselves, which is enough about Born and who we are. We're here to talk about our publishing software on ES. So, as Colin rightly said, we have had Ceto published, which was previously called VIP, for over 20 years. It was hand-built by a large team, millions of lines of code, multiple applications, and with twist and dialogue thrown in. And it was very successful and was used worldwide. So in 2020, we decided to rebuild it all in DALIM ES entirely, 100%, nothing else, which would obviously beg the question, why would you do that? And there's two reasons. The first reason is really easy. Our old friend cash, pure and simple. The problem with 2021 is that unless you are actually a software company owning your own code, especially a very large code base like VIP was, is becoming challenging. Security compliance is a nightmare. You know, GDPR, just one small example of something that tripped us up. Code maintenance is also difficult. There's a constant need to keep your code up to date. So the obvious example was back in 2014, we had to rebuild in Flash, rebuild from Flash to HTML5. Constantly have PHP libraries going out of date that we have to maintain, all of this kind of stuff. It is becoming very, very difficult. And alongside that, we're getting very little in the way of new features built. And from the other end, you've got client budgets that are shrinking and have been for some time. So that's the cash issue. The second point is agglomeration, which is one of my favorite words from A-level geography.
That's a good word.
It's not the name of my goth band from the 1980s, as has been suggested. It basically means bringing everything together into one place and getting savings and efficiencies from doing that. And that's what we've done, because it's not just publish that we have migrated to a total ES solution. We're putting all of our solutions into one enterprise class platform. Because there's savings on infrastructure, there's savings on support management and on development, there's savings on licenses, and also there's, and I am a control freak, greater control, because you know exactly what clients are doing what, because you've got a nice interface to manage it all. You can see who's logged in, you can see what they're doing in one place. You're not running around managing lots of different places. So then the question is, why did we choose ES to do this? Because there are alternatives. We could have gone down the AEM route, for example. The reality is ES was a really good fit. We'd had an ES installation for some years. It did some simple approval for us. But just using that, we could see that it had the content tools, it had the workflow tools, it had good application management, and also we had a long relationship with DALIM, going back to what I said to Colin was the cowboy days of the 1990s, when there wasn't quite the restrictions there are now, but we have been working with them for that long, and also it wasn't just historical factors, it was also future issues as well. So the fact that we saw huge improvements in ES6, and talking at the developer conferences, we liked what the roadmap was, we liked where the product was going. We were excited by it. So it was kind of an obvious choice really for us. So how did we do it? Well, the simple answer is we went back to school. The first 3 months, myself, the development team, all we did was just learn and test stuff out and try stuff and work out how the metadata worked and how you could interact using the production SQL API and all of those kind of things under the hood. I think I've read the entire Confluence now from start to finish. So we really did go back to school. And we also got a big assistance from Ethos and DALIM. The Ethos guys helped us with a lot of the configuration work that we needed to do, and leading us in the right way of building up an enterprise class platform. Particular thanks to Tim Dallier, who was at Ethos and now then moved to DALIM, because he's been invaluable showing us how to use the APIs. And then we built out our dev environments based on that knowledge. And what did we do? We built on the API. So we used React, probably because for the same reason as Tim used React for his DAM interface, because it's quick and it works really well with DALIM API. We built out our workflows, we built out our metadata, we did all our actions. One thing we did do was switch from Twist to ES Twist, because it's an awful lot quicker in the interaction with ES. And that's it. There really wasn't an awful lot more to say on the matter. I did think after I'd done this slide, we did actually write one custom plugin. But apart from that, no, it was all API and configuration.
So, Bill, just question on what you said there. You saw ES as being the right platform. Was it specifically ES6 that made you think that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd been to the developer conference the year before, and there was a big emphasis on the API. There was also, we got an early preview of the beta. We could see some of the nice tools that had been added, so just little niceties like being able to throttle your users, that sort of thing. And it just felt a good, a good leap forward as a product.
Okay, and you talked about you've developed this having had a system, a proven system for many years, but technology moves on, and you decided to do it. What was the sort of timescale from saying, okay, we're going to use ES6, we're going to migrate a lot of the stuff we're doing in our legacy systems into ES6? What sort of timescale is it?
Well, the reality, the actual timescale is we started in January of 2020. But the reality is we've probably only used about half of that time building this product, because there was a small outbreak of an illness. I don't know if you noticed. We also had 2 major clients come on board, and we had to build other stuff for them. And we've only got a small development team. So because it was a kind of back-end project, i.e. there was no screaming urgency to get it done by the board, we kind of had to stop and start. So in reality, we've probably burnt about 8 months building this. Okay,
that's quite impressive.
And that's a team of 4 developers.
And that's encompassing all of the things you do, rather not just. I think we're going to be seeing a part of your system next.
We're going to demo the flat plan, because that is where we've used the API the most. That's the most dramatic move away from the DALIM interface.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to that then.
Okay. So here's the interface. It was designed to look like the previous version.
Oh, I see. So you didn't surprise your
yeah. We
users.
wanted to keep, and it's a very simple navigation system, just folders and a very simple search system. And then into the flat plan, and it's a dynamic flat plan, which means you can move elements around. So, for example, we have a clipboard so that if people want to put stuff on the clipboard while they're thinking about what to do with it, they can do. And then they can drag things back. But it's also very much a production flat plan as well, because you can drag and drop. So I'm going to drag a couple of adverts over straight into the flat plan so that then they will get processed and pre-flighted and go through all the usual production loveliness so that they're print ready.
It's both a pre-production and a production flat plan.
Yes, absolutely. And this tool, the refolio, is where the page numbers, if the page moves, and obviously that folio number is wrong, so then it tells the user it's wrong, and they can just request it gets refolioed, and it will go and renumber the page without them having to resend it back in, which is obviously very useful, especially if someone inserts an ad, for example, and every single page after that ad moves down. And we have other production things like obviously the statuses. You can see the approval statuses and the like waiting for approval. I mean, if something's errored or if something's gone wrong with a pre-flight, it'll show you those as a production status. So we have all of that. But on top of that, we also have one of the key differences is we have metadata. So it's just doing a quick download. So, oh, look, we can do downloads, which is quite, everyone can do downloads, but just to show we can do downloads as well. But one of the key things is we use the metadata so that the clients can have their own customized metadata. Now, I've called these red, green, and blue, but they can be anything. They can be people's names. They can be editorial statuses. They can be whatever they want. And people can see on the sidebars their own custom statuses. And we have lots of, again, that's an example of using the DALIM interface. But as I say, the main primary driver difference is that you have this ability to construct and play with the flat plan whilst you are doing the production. So putting things in, in creating editorial pages, then deciding you're parking them for a while, then moving them back, all while you're still doing the production. So it's all part of one dynamic tool. And the other thing that goes with it is we obviously also use the API to create a Adobe extension so that people could then send the pages in as well, rather than have to make PDFs and then send them. So
they're going directly into ES via the InDesign plugin?
Yeah, so they're submitting, this will go straight into ES. And also what you can do as well is you can upload at the same time the images and the InDesign document. So if you've got remote workers, they are able to access the images in the InDesign, and actually if they need to resubmit some work, they can do without having to log on to somebody's server or something, which obviously in the last year has been invaluable to our clients.
Of course.
And that's pretty, I mean, that's a helicopter view of it. I haven't shown any of the previews or any of the higher functionality of the system, but I think it shows what we've done and how we've applied our own UI over the top of the DALIM interface.
So the core is the ES core, the ES6 core is doing all of the work behind the scenes automatically, as you know, has done for years for Bourne.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If your interface gives you the representation for your customers that they're after.
You can watch both interfaces at the same time. You can have them loaded in different browsers, and you can go create a marker, and it'll create the elements for that marker.
Wow.
In ES, and there's no extra databases, there's no additional application servers. There's one third-party tool that we use for one function, but that is, again, that's called by the DALIM. That's not, we don't have to send it off and then wait for it to come back. It's a direct execution from DALIM, and everything else is DALIM.
Wow, well, that's good to hear. Big question maybe, what's next? What are your plans for what's next on the plan?
We've got a big project kicking off it's already that next month, this month, which is to automate and semi-automate some of the editorial elements for clients, so that where pages are largely repetitious, things like the contents page and stuff like that, it'll generate the documents for them to a certain degree, so that they then only have to potentially edit the content in a content management system, which will probably be ES, and then they hit the execute button and it'll just go and make the PDF for them.
Nice. I've just spotted there's a question appeared, which is from Alfredo Padilla. So sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Alfredo. Would partial page elements be something you would like to see in ES? Partial page ads, for instance?
We've got them.
I think you handle them, don't you?
Yeah, I haven't got it on the demonstration. I'm not going to try and share my screen. But yes, we've already got part pages.
And is that specific sizes from templates, or is that any size?
No, that's it's pretty. At the moment, it's loose, so you just create it based on selecting from an option list. So you'll say like half page, quarter page, horizontal page. There's a choice of about
from set sizes
60.
that are normally sold. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, we don't seem to have any more questions, and we are we started slightly early, but we're now bang on time. So anyone want to post any more questions, or
stop sharing my screen for a second?
Should we stop the session? No, there's no more questions appearing. So you must have covered everything, Bill, which is good.
I want to thank you, Bill and Colin, for making that very cool presentation. And I hope, Bill, that we can meet in person on our next Duo session, wherever this might be. So we're working on some plans. Of course, also thank you very much for Isabel and Tim for their presentations. Very, very cool stuff as well. And I'm sure there's lots of questions later on the tables. But of course, I would like to remind you that even though this is the end for today's episode, next week, of course, same time, same place, there's a new one at our 4th session. And we're very proud to have top brands like Decathlon and Eastin with us talking packaging this time. So you certainly don't want to miss that. And in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you also see the hint for the Duo City competition. Of course, don't miss that. And so that means this is the end for today, but of course, feel free to stay a little longer, come to the tables, have a chat with everyone, ask your questions that you might have missed asking, and I'm looking forward to see you there in a minute. Bye-bye. Take care.